It's been a nail-biting, gut-wrenching time on the stock market. But these days, discerning investors have a myriad of alternative choices to cash, bonds and stocks. Private bank and wealth manager Coutts says the smart money is in passion assets, classic cars, collectible coins, stamps and fine wines. The Coutts Index, which measures the financial value of alternative investments and trophy property, has risen 80% in the last 10 years. Aston Martins and vintage Jags are worth 40% more than they were in 2014. Stamps and coins are the only assets to increase in value over 9 consecutive years. Coins are worth 176% more since then. It wasn't such a good year for watches and jewellery. Watches have lost 17% of their value. And traditional Chinese art was the only art category to fall in 2014, with prices off 13%. We're here to talk about the appeal and business sense of passion investing. I'm joined by Mo Syed, Head of Financial Advice and Investment Solutions at Coutts. First of all, tell me, what would you say the lure is of alternative investments like these?
So it starts with the passion first, rather than I want to make a return.
Yeah.
And that's the underlying theme. And the fact that all of these prices have gone up is a nice outcome, as opposed to that is what the desired outcome or the intention was.
Right.
And so the fact that cars have gone up, none of the big car collectors ever thought that they would go up.
It's not necessarily about building their nest egg or working on their pension. But how do passion assets compare?
Sure.
Do they really perform as well as equities, as bonds?
Sure. So I think if you looked at just pure one-dimensional price comparison, then over the same period that we have tracked, which is 2005 to end of 2014, they've actually done better. But that's not the complete story. And the reason for that is because these are illiquid, so you can't just trade them like you would bonds and stocks. They are opaque in the sense of price understanding. They are also difficult to hold because you have to keep a car in a garage, piece of collectible art in a vault or in a secure place. And so financial assets shouldn't really be compared with passion assets because they're really very different.
It's different and they're not risk-free. There are other kinds of risk than market volatility to take into consideration.
Absolutely. So they are at the highest end of the risk spectrum because they're illiquid. You can't just buy and sell. You can't find a price particularly easily. But also sourcing them is not so easy either, even if you want to go and acquire something, because there's a finite amount of passion investments.
Is this then the realm of the high net worth individual, or is there some scope for a savvy investor to get into this kind of investing?
I would say that so far, from what we've seen, it is largely and wholly high net worth individuals. And that's because they have the propensity to hold these assets through economic cycles. And they are not driven by, the price appreciation. So the more sophisticated investor, who may not be particularly a high net worth individual, has other ways potentially to look into it, which is, getting a group of like-minded people to perhaps buy a small share in a passion investments. But that's by far a tiny percentage of what we see. What we see is the ultra high net worth and the high net worth individuals who have created the wealth, who've generated it, and now want to enjoy, for a portion of the wealth, the indulgences.
So there is a strategy involved. I mean, you started off by saying it's someone's passion, it might be their hobby.
As Coutts, we certainly don't advise any of our clients into these portfolios. We are simply reflecting what price has done, but also a way to how do you hold them, what structure do you put in place to hold them, how do you pass on some of those assets to the next generation, etc. So ours is not about you should invest and this should be part of the portfolio. It is simply this is what this has done, and we want to engage with our clients and say, do you also understand that there is holding cost and you need to put a vehicle that allows you to keep it, also pass it, but also all the other aspects of you shouldn't just look at the price, because if you bought an asset in US dollar terms and you're a sterling based investor, then what does it mean in terms of the currency appreciation? Because many people forget that these assets are global, they're in different currencies, you buy them in one, you might sell them in another. So we really try and bring part of the financial dimension into it, but largely it's about what else can we do as you're trusted advisor and your private bank to connect you in some ways to like-minded people.
So scope then for an investor who's starting out to give a little taste of the high life if they play it right and they rub shoulders with the right kind of people. Mo Syed and Coots, thanks ever so much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.